What are some of the levers that you're pulling now to let current and future customers know you've reopened slash are planning to reopen? John Michael, would you like to take the first shot at this? And it's tied to what Brandon was just talking about.
Sure. So we actually partook in the support voucher campaign, and interestingly, we obviously wanted guests to use the vouchers for the purpose that it was. It was intended to be a gift card, but we found that many of our guests did not want to partake in actually using them. They just wanted to give us money with the vouchers, and actually, like we put on their guest profiles, you know, they have such and such to spend, but we were quite pleased, but feel bad in a way that they just wanted to really support the business. But through that, in some ways, validated our brand and how people felt about us. So that was great to see with the pent-up demand. However, we also felt a responsibility with our levers to make sure that, you know, people knew we were back, what we were doing, what precautions we were taking. So while we're not a heavily email-based, you know, get an email every week from us kind of salon, more of a semi-private environment. So we kind of have kept that consistent with our approach to other communications with our guests. We've ramped up more of our communications. I think you can't over communicate in these times. So whether that's all the steps we're taking, letting guests know that certain employees that they've long missed are now back, you know, and we didn't get our staffing back right away, especially in a salon where it's a one-to-one environment. Your revenue is very much tied to your capacity, and supply and demand are so much a matter. So making sure when staffing could come back that you were prepared to allow that demand to come back required a lot of communication. So I think that was our biggest lever, is communication. This is much more of a social business. So it wasn't just more of a transactional, okay, come back, here's a coupon. That wasn't the way we drove this. This was more making sure they knew we cared about them.
And you had obviously each of your barbers reaching out directly to their clients as well. So there was constant communication. Janice, for you, obviously a unique situation where thankfully you never had to fully close. I'm sure you had times that were scary with supply chain, but what were you telling your consumers to let them know that you were still open the whole time, even though all you had to really close was your cafe section?
I mean, I think most of our regular customers knew that we were open. We were on the social media letting everyone know. We continued to send out our newsletters. I sent one out that specifically addressed the stay-at-home order and that we were open, but our revenue did drop like when the stay-at-home order came out, and we had to come up with marketing campaigns. So we came up with Buy a Pie, Employ a Village, and then people started sending us money to bake for others and give it away. So we started mitzvah funds for that. And so we made sure everybody knew about that, and they were very successful, and they filled that void that the stay-at-home order created. So that was just kind of it.
Rakesh, for you, what were you, obviously you said with Dairy Queen, you had been sending out mailers, but to let your consumers know for the other brands that you've reopened, what were some of your tactics that you've used?
Yeah, and so for each concept, a little bit different. You know, this industry is a little bit different. I think you mentioned it, the Dairy Queens, we were considered an essential, so we didn't need to close down except the lobby is closed, it was closed. So what we did there, and I think this really helped, is got these big signs made from like Signorama or any sign company, just saying available for pickup and takeout, or drive-through open. So that way, you know, anyone driving by speculating if we're closed or not, kind of could see this eyesore of a sign just kind of sticking out saying that. With the salons, it like, you know, probably like what John Michael's going through, it's a little bit tricky because you want to announce that you're open, but you don't want too much. It's a catch-22 because you don't want too much business because you have issues. You're so dependent on your stylists. And if you don't have the stylists to meet that demand, you know, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot. And our biggest challenge too was getting stylists to come back. You know, after our state reopened, there was still a handful of stylists for whatever reason, whether they were paranoid about the situation, whether they were content collecting unemployment, just getting back. And so it was kind of a catch-22. We didn't want to go out on a full-on marketing blitz and let everyone know that here we are, we're open, like the floodgates are open, come on in, because we did, you know, we had to social distance the lobby. We couldn't have people waiting in the lobby. So we actually went to an appointment only method right when we opened. And we're slowly now, we've kind of accepted walk-ins. So that's kind of where we're at with that. We still didn't, you know, again, did the signs, we sent out a mail out, but again, we were treading cautiously just because we didn't want to invite everyone in and not being able to deliver that wow service. We didn't want people to come in and say, oh, sorry, there's a 1 hour wait time right now. And it doesn't send the right message.
Absolutely. And Ali, for Hooters in Arizona, what, obviously you had mentioned before that you were using gift cards as promotions. You mentioned in our introductory call that you were able to acquire at a low cost billboards. What other marketing efforts were you doing during this current time?
So we took advantage of everything that we could. So we were sending like press releases to the news stations and the radios just for a soft news day. I mean, there obviously was a ton going on. We were looking to see any of the TV stations were doing anything for free, and Cox and Comcast were offering free PSAs. We did a bunch of trade with the radio stations to get mentions, so that they would say, you know, you can win a Hooters gift card today. So, and they just kept saying Hooters over and over. So even though we weren't doing our normal ads, they were saying Hooters 10 times a day, because they'd say, you know, if you call in during this hour. And like you said, the billboards were, you know, they're normally anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. They're offering up a billboard for, you know, $1,000, $500, $200, because they just had inventory left and right. So we said, you know, we have a very minimal budget, but we do have to be aware. And then we talked to the vendors at the beer company. So for us, it's a little bit different. You know, a Dairy Queen or a hair salon doesn't buy alcohol. I mean, some do if they serve it, but we took advantage of any partnership that we had to get stuff for free. So all restaurants should be able to get it, from their food purveyors to make menus for them, to, you know, liquor purveyors to make menus for them, to make signs. So we had signs up everywhere that said, you know, reopening soon, we are open, you know, open for curbside once we open for dine-in, open for dine-in, and kept all of our social and our web 100% up to date.
That's great. I do want to change the topic really quick